With thousands of lightsabers appearing across Star Wars films, shows, games, and books, ranking them by power demands a clear framework. According to official Star Wars canon, the strength of a lightsaber does not rely solely on any single factor. Instead, 4 elements combine to determine true power: the kyber crystal at its heart, the quality of its construction, the legacy it has accumulated through battle, and the skill of the Force user who wields it. Drawing from canon sources, including visual dictionaries, novelizations, and production materials, alongside Legends continuity, we can identify 25 lightsabers that stood apart from the rest and discover why each one earned its legendary status. Ranked in ascending order of power, at 25 is the Saber Cane, belonging to Jedi Master Terra Sinube. First appearing in the Clone Wars episode Lightsaber Lost, this Kosian Jedi served the Order as an investigator rather than a warrior, and this weapon reflected that specialization. The lightsaber was concealed inside his walking stick, with natural wood branching into a knotted grip while the upper portion hid the emitter. The kyber crystal produced a pale blue blade, standard in composition with no recorded special properties. Furthermore, the construction prioritized concealment over combat optimization, sacrificing grip ergonomics and blade stability for the ability to pass as an ordinary walking stick. In terms of combat record, Sinube's experience was limited to street-level criminals. He subdued the bounty hunter Cassie Cryer and assisted in apprehensions, yet never faced another Force user on screen. The weapon's legacy extends only to inspiring later concealed designs used by Order 66 survivors. As for the wielder factor, Sinube was a capable Jedi Master, though his skills were investigative rather than martial. Assessed across all 4 power factors, this Saber Cane presents a standard crystal, compromised construction, minimal legacy, and an untested combat wielder. While functional for its intended purpose, these limitations secure its position at the lowest rank. That same necessity for concealment shaped the following entry, which belonged to a Jedi who spent years hiding his true identity. At number 24 is the 2-piece lightsaber belonging to Kanan Jarrus. Born Caleb Doom, this Padawan survived Order 66 and spent years in hiding while working as a freighter pilot. His lightsaber, featured throughout Rebels, was separated into 2 components designed to resemble unrelated belt accessories. The blue kyber crystal was standard, claimed during his Padawan training before the Purge. Although the 2-piece construction permitted passage through Imperial checkpoints, it created a brief vulnerability during assembly that traditional hilts avoided. Despite these limitations, Kanan's combat record demonstrated genuine achievement. He defeated multiple Inquisitors, including the Grand Inquisitor, held his own against Darth Maul, and survived direct engagement with Darth Vader. The weapon accumulated substantial legacy through the years of Rebellion service, witnessing pivotal moments in the fight against the Empire. As a wielder, Kanan evolved from a traumatized survivor into a true Jedi Knight, eventually sacrificing himself to save his crew. Measured against the 4 criteria, the standard crystal provided reliable performance but lacked the rare properties or deep attunement that distinguished elite weapons. Meanwhile, the 2-piece construction traded combat optimization for concealment, a necessary sacrifice during the Empire's reign, but a limitation nonetheless. The legacy, on the other hand, proved substantial, with victories over Inquisitors and years of Rebellion service adding genuine weight. And while Kanan grew into a true Jedi Knight, his incomplete Padawan training meant that he never reached the heights of truly trained masters. The concealment trade-offs prevent higher ranking. Nevertheless, Kanan proved this weapon could defeat trained dark-side opponents when skill and determination compensated for design compromises. He was not, however, the only rebel who demonstrated creativity in lightsaber construction. Number 23 focuses on Ezra Bridger's lightsaber blaster hybrid, a weapon born from necessity during the dark times following the Jedi Purge. With traditional components nearly impossible to acquire under Imperial rule, young Ezra constructed a weapon incorporating a stun blaster directly into the hilt. The kyber crystal was claimed from a Jedi temple on Lothal, standard in power yet personally attuned through ancient trials. The hybrid construction offered tactical versatility but introduced fundamental compromises. The blaster could not fire while the blade was active, and the scrap part assembly reduced reliability compared to traditionally built weapons. Throughout his training, Ezra fought Inquisitors, Stormtroopers, and engaged Darth Maul directly, surviving encounters that claimed more experienced Jedi. The weapon's legacy ended when Vader destroyed it, forcing Ezra to construct a second, more traditional saber. As wielder, Ezra exhibited raw talent that developed into genuine skill, though he never attained the level of a Jedi Knight before the Rebellion's demands redirected his path. A lightsaber's true power comes from 4 factors working together: the crystal's attunement to the Force, the quality of its construction, the legacy it has earned in battle, and the skill of whoever wields it. Measured against these factors, the crystal achieved proper attunement through the Lothal Temple trials, but held no exceptional properties. The hybrid construction prioritized versatility over combat optimization, introducing weaknesses that traditional hilts avoided. The legacy was cut short when Vader destroyed the weapon, erasing years of potential battlefield history. And while Ezra showed genuine promise as a wielder, his training remained incomplete when the Rebellion's demands pulled him away from the Jedi path. Innovation born from necessity could not overcome these accumulated limitations. Ultimately, innovation could not overcome the design sacrifices, a limitation that pales compared to the following entry, which features not a single lightsaber, but an entire collection gathered by someone who could never truly wield them. At number 22 is the lightsaber collection carried by General Grievous. The Supreme Commander of the Separatist armies collected lightsabers as trophies from Jedi he personally killed, with his cyborg body capable of splitting into 4 arms to wield multiple blades simultaneously. Each stolen weapon contained a kyber crystal attuned to a fallen Jedi rather than to Grievous himself. This significant disconnection meant the crystals could never amplify his abilities as they had for their original owners. The construction of each weapon was excellent, built by trained Jedi who poured their Force connection into these blades. However, Grievous treated them as interchangeable tools rather than extensions of himself. Throughout the Clone Wars, Grievous killed numerous Jedi Knights. Count Dooku trained him in lightsaber combat, teaching forms that exploited his mechanical advantages: spinning blades that deflected blaster fire, four-armed assaults that overwhelmed opponents. Nevertheless, against elite duelists like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Mace Windu, he lost or fled every encounter. Ultimately, Obi-Wan killed him with a blaster rather than in lightsaber combat. The collection's legacy was one of theft and terror rather than earned mastery. Most critically, Grievous possessed no Force sensitivity. Without the wielder factor, even the finest crystals in construction proved meaningless. The crystals could not amplify abilities he did not possess. He ranked this high solely because the stolen weapons themselves were expertly crafted by Jedi who understood lightsaber construction at the deepest level. This collection of excellent tools in hands incapable of unlocking their true potential demonstrates precisely why the wielder factor matters more than any other. In contrast, the following entry features a Force user who built multiple blades specifically for his unique physiology. Number 21 belongs to Pong Krell's double-bladed lightsaber set. This Basilisk Jedi Master possessed 4 powerful arms, prompting him to construct a pair of hinged, double-bladed lightsabers specifically designed for his physiology. The kyber crystals produced 1 green and 1 blue blade, both personally attuned during his years of Jedi service. The construction was innovative, featuring hinged hilts that allowed the weapons to fold for carrying and deploy instantly, while the larger-than-standard grips accommodated his massive hands perfectly. During the Clone Wars Umbara arc, Krell demonstrated devastating combat effectiveness against clone troopers, massacring soldiers who could not penetrate his spinning wall of plasma. Yet, his legacy became one of betrayal rather than honor, as he never tested these weapons against Jedi, Sith, or anyone capable of matching his Force abilities. As a wielder, Krell was undeniably powerful, though his fall to darkness tainted everything the weapons represented. Collectively, the crystals were properly attuned through years of Jedi service, and the custom construction was genuinely excellent, optimized for his unique four-armed physiology. However, the legacy was poisoned by treachery rather than built through honorable combat, and the wielder's power was undermined by corruption that severed his connection to the light. Two factors excelled while two factors failed. The betrayal ultimately weighed heavier than craftsmanship. What could have been exceptional weapons became symbols of treachery instead. The ranking continues with another double-bladed weapon, this one forged by a warrior who embraced darkness from the outset. At number 20 is Sauvage Oppress's double-bladed lightsaber. Transformed from a Night Brother warrior into a hulking weapon through Night Sister magic and Sith training, Sauvage constructed this weapon under Count Dooku's guidance. The red kyber crystals were synthetic, created through dark side alchemy rather than claimed from natural sources. The construction reflected his brutal fighting style, featuring horn-like emitters and extended grips. However, the rushed assembly under Dooku's demanding timeline prevented the careful craftsmanship that defined truly elite weapons. Sauvage killed multiple Jedi and fought Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to a stalemate alongside his brother Maul, a record that justified genuine respect. However, when Darth Sidious arrived on Mandalore, Sauvage fell almost immediately, impaled by both of the Emperor's blades. The weapon's legacy ended with his death, barely a few years after its creation. As a wielder, Sauvage possessed raw power, yet lacked the decades of training that separated him from true masters. Taken together, the hastily bled crystals never achieved deep force attunement. The rushed construction sacrificed durability for speed. The legacy ended before it could accumulate any weight, and the wielder's raw power was never refined into true mastery. Each factor fell short of excellence, and strength alone could not compensate for what was missing. This combination placed a hard ceiling on the weapon's power. Departing from traditional lightsabers, the list now turns to weapons that lacked kyber crystals yet proved deadly enough to challenge Force users directly. Number 19 focuses on the plasma weapons wielded by Supreme Leader Snoke's elite Praetorian Guard. Featured in The Last Jedi, these 8 warriors carried weapons in 3 configurations: staffs with plasma tips, whip-like chains that hardened into swords, and paired vibro-axes with plasma edges. It's important to note that these were not true lightsabers. They lacked kyber crystals entirely, drawing power from technological sources rather than force-attuned stones. While the construction was specifically engineered to counter lightsabers, the absence of crystals meant they could never channel the Force the way true sabers could. The throne room battle proved these weapons could threaten powerful Force users. Rey and Kylo Ren, fighting together, faced all 8 guards at once, and several came dangerously close to killing both. Yet, all 8 guards fell. The weapon's legacy began and ended in that single battle. Moreover, the wielders were elite soldiers but not Force-sensitive, meaning the weapons could never reach their maximum potential. Measured against the 4 factors, the complete absence of kyber crystals meant these weapons had no connection to the Force, eliminating the very foundation that makes lightsabers powerful. The construction was undeniably excellent, specifically engineered to parry and counter true lightsabers in ways most weapons could not. However, the legacy extended no further than a single battle, with no lineage of victories or legendary wielders to add weight over time. Most critically, the wielders themselves lacked Force sensitivity, meaning even perfectly designed weapons could never channel abilities their owners did not possess. These plasma weapons earned their placement by genuinely threatening 2 powerful Force users in combat. Yet, these fundamental limitations created a ceiling that technology alone could not break through. The following entry returns to true lightsabers, featuring a design that pushed innovation into controversy. Right at number 18 is the spinning double-bladed lightsaber wielded by the Grand Inquisitor. Featured in Rebels, this weapon had ring-shaped guards that allowed the double blades to rotate rapidly around the wielder's hand. The red kyber crystals were bled from stolen Jedi weapons, forcibly corrupted through dark-side rituals. This bleeding process created crystals that channeled anger and pain, yet lacked the harmonious attunement of naturally bonded stones. The spinning construction created intimidating attack patterns and even enabled limited flight. However, the ring mechanism was poorly built, leaving it vulnerable to strikes that could disable the entire weapon. Throughout his service, the Grand Inquisitor hunted and killed multiple Order 66 survivors, building a real combat record against Force-sensitive opponents. The weapon's legacy ended when Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger defeated him by exploiting the design's weaknesses. As a wielder, the Grand Inquisitor was a fallen Jedi Temple guard with genuine skill, though his fear of Vader and reliance on the weapon's gimmicks limited his development. Measured against the four factors, the forcibly bled crystals carried the pain of their corruption, channeling dark side energy but never achieving the harmony that comes from a natural bond. The spinning construction prioritized intimidation over durability, creating a fatal weakness that opponents could exploit once they overcame their initial fear. The legacy showed promise with confirmed Jedi kills, but ended abruptly in defeat, cutting short any chance to build lasting weight. And while the wielder possessed genuine Temple Guard training, his fear of failure and over-reliance on mechanical tricks stunted his growth as a duelist. Intimidation can win battles against lesser opponents, but when facing those who refuse to be afraid, the weapon's shallow foundations were exposed. Fittingly, the following weapon was forged by someone who spent years running from Inquisitors before turning to fight. Cal Kestis' modular lightsaber earns the 17th position. Featured in the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor games, Cal survived Order 66 as a Padawan, and later built a weapon that could split into dual blades or connect into a double-bladed staff. The kyber crystal was claimed from the ice caves of Ilum through ancient Jedi trials, properly attuned despite Imperial occupation of that sacred world. The modular construction incorporated components from his master's destroyed weapon, honoring that legacy while enabling tactical flexibility impossible with fixed designs. Cal defeated multiple Inquisitors, including the Second Sister and Ninth Sister, Force users specifically trained to hunt Jedi. Most remarkably, he faced Darth Vader directly and survived, one of the very few Jedi to walk away from such an encounter. The weapon's legacy grew across years of continued service as Cal developed from survivor to leader. As a wielder, Cal's connection to the Force deepened throughout his journey, eventually matching skilled knights in ability. Evaluated against the four power factors, the Ilum crystal achieved proper attunement through sacred trials, giving it legitimacy that hastily claimed crystals lacked. The modular construction represented genuine innovation, combining his master's legacy with tactical versatility that outperformed rigid designs. The legacy continued to grow with each Inquisitor defeated, and each year of survival, accumulating weight that weapons with shorter histories couldn't claim. And crucially, Cal proved himself as a wielder by walking away from Darth Vader alive, a feat that placed him among an extraordinarily rare group of Jedi. That single encounter justified this placement, demonstrating what proper attunement, thoughtful construction, growing legacy, and determined skill could achieve together. From a Jedi who barely escaped death, the ranking moves to a dark side warrior who made dealing death her profession. Coming in at number 16 are Asajj Ventress's curved twin lightsabers. Count Dooku's most dangerous assassin wielded twin curved hilt weapons that could connect at the pommel to form a double-bladed staff. The red kyber crystals were gifts from Dooku, bled and corrupted, yet carefully selected for compatibility with her fighting style. The curved construction mirrored Dooku's own preference for Makashi precision, while the connection mechanism allowed rapid switching between dual blade and staff configurations. Throughout the Clone Wars, Ventress fought Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker on multiple occasions, battling two of the era's best duelists to draws. She ended numerous Jedi Knights and clone commanders during the conflict. The weapon's legacy continued even after Dooku's betrayal, as Ventress remained dangerous in her new life as a bounty hunter. As a wielder, Ventress combined Night Sister magic with Sith training under one of history's greatest duelists. Weighing all four factors, The crystals were carefully selected by a master who understood attunement, giving them stronger compatibility than hastily bled alternatives. The curved construction represented elite craftsmanship, designed specifically for Makashi precision and tactical versatility. The legacy stretched across years of Clone Wars combat and beyond, accumulating weight through kills and draws against the era's finest Jedi. And the wielder herself merged two powerful traditions, Night Sister sorcery and Sith blade work, into a deadly combination few could match. Draws against Kenobi and Skywalker meant she fought in their arena as an equal, even if final victory eluded her. Departing from canon, the following entry comes from the Legends continuity. Number 15 takes us into Legends continuity with Tenel Ka's Rancor-Tooth lightsaber. Appearing in the Young Jedi Knights novels, Tenel Ka trained at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy while carrying the weight of two powerful bloodlines. Her mother descended from the Force Witches of Dathomir, while her father claimed Hapan royal heritage. The focusing crystals were Galenorian rainbow gems from a Hapan royal tiara, producing a unique turquoise blade through a combination no other Jedi could replicate. The hilt was carved from her great-grandmother's Rancor-Tooth, connecting her to generations of Dathomiri warrior tradition. Tenel Ka's first lightsaber construction ended in tragedy when a flaw caused it to fail during training, costing her an arm. Her rebuilt weapon received far greater care, and she wielded it one-handed with deadly effectiveness. The curved Rancor-Tooth hilt proved especially suited for Makashi, the precision dueling form. She fought the Shadow Academy's Dark Jedi and defended the Hoppus Consortium as its eventual Queen Mother. When weighed against the four power factors, this weapon excels in ways few others can claim. The Galenorian rainbow gems were irreplaceable royal heirlooms, producing a blade color unique in Jedi history. The Rancor-Tooth construction carried ancestral significance stretching back generations, embedding legacy into the weapon's very materials. Decades of combat defending both the Jedi Order and an entire star cluster added substantial weight to that legacy. And as a wielder, Tenel Ka transformed the loss of her arm into a defining strength, mastering one-handed Makashi with precision that few two-armed duelists could match, a tragedy forged into lasting power. Such resilience was forged through tragedy and refined under the guidance of a master whose own lightsaber ranks just above hers. At number 14 is Count Dooku's curved hilt lightsaber. Secretly Darth Tyrannus, Dooku was trained by Yoda himself before falling to the dark side. The red kyber crystal was personally bled through extended dark side meditation, creating deep attunement to his aggressive dueling philosophy. The curved hilt construction was designed specifically for Makashi Form 2 combat, emphasizing elegant one-on-one dueling. The pistol grip angle allowed superior wrist control and blade manipulation that straight hilts simply could not match. Every element of the weapon's design reflected aristocratic precision, from the elegant emitter to the carefully weighted balance point. Dooku's combat record was formidable. In Attack of the Clones, he defeated Obi-Wan Kenobi decisively, slicing his arm and leg to end the fight quickly. He then fought Anakin Skywalker and won that duel as well, severing Anakin's arm with cold efficiency. Minutes later, he battled Yoda to a standstill before escaping. Throughout the Clone Wars, he killed numerous Jedi and trained some of the era's deadliest fighters, including Grievous, Ventress, and Savage Oppress. When lesser Sith or Jedi faced him, they died quickly and without ceremony. The weapon's legacy extended through his students and through Makashi itself, which saw a resurgence across the galaxy because of his victories. As a wielder, Dooku combined 9 decades of experience with both Jedi and Sith training, combining both sides of the Force more completely than most practitioners ever could. Evaluated as a complete weapon, the crystal achieved profound dark side attunement through patient, deliberate bleeding rather than hasty corruption. The curved hilt construction represented perhaps the purest expression of Makashi ever crafted, with every angle and weight distribution calculated for dueling perfection. The legacy carried weight through both direct victories and indirect influence, as his students spread fear across the galaxy, and his preferred form experienced a renaissance. And 9 decades of combined Jedi and Sith training produced a wielder whose technical mastery few could equal. Yet his death at Anakin's hands in Revenge of the Sith demonstrated that even this exceptional combination had limits, that when superior raw power met dark side rage, precision, and experience were not enough. Before his turn to darkness, Dooku passed his knowledge to an apprentice who became one of the most respected Jedi of his generation. Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber holds the 13th position. This maverick Jedi Master trusted the living Force over Council directives, and his green-bladed weapon reflected that philosophy. The kyber crystal was attuned through deep meditation on the living Force, creating a connection that emphasized intuition over rigid form. The construction was elegant yet practical, powerful without ostentation, built for a Jedi who valued substance over appearance. Qui-Gon's most significant combat achievement came on Tatooine in The Phantom Menace, where he dueled Darth Maul to a stalemate. This was a Sith assassin trained from birth to destroy Jedi, and Qui-Gon matched him blow for blow. In the Theed power generator, separated from Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon fought Maul alone in confined spaces that negated his preferred Taru style. He fell, yet his earlier stalemate proved the weapon could match a Sith in fair combat. Weighing each factor, the crystal's attunement to the living Force gave Qui-Gon an instinctive combat awareness that rigid training could not replicate. The construction served its purpose without flash, prioritizing function over form. The legacy, though cut short by his death, continued to ripple forward through Obi-Wan's teachings and eventually reached Luke Skywalker, shaping generations of Jedi. As a wielder, Qui-Gon proved himself skilled enough to stalemate a Sith assassin in open combat. Death does not erase what this weapon accomplished. If anything, its influence only grew stronger after Qui-Gon became one with the Force. And that legacy of mentorship leads directly to the next placement. A warrior who trained under Anakin Skywalker, yet announced through her blade color that she answered to no order. Landing at number 12 are Ahsoka Tano's white lightsabers. After leaving the Jedi Order and surviving the Purge, Ahsoka needed new weapons. As shown in the 2016 Ahsoka novel, she obtained kyber crystals by defeating an Inquisitor called the Sixth Brother, then purified the corrupted red crystals through meditation. This purification process was extraordinarily rare, transforming bled crystals into pure white through sheer Force connection. No other character in canon achieved this. The twin blade construction complemented her acrobatic reverse grip style. Ahsoka's combat record with these weapons was exceptional. She defeated the Sixth Brother to obtain them. In the Rebels episode Twilight of the Apprentice, she fought Darth Vader on Malachor and survived, damaging his mask. Later appearances showed her defeating dangerous opponents across decades. The weapon's legacy grew as Ahsoka became a legend in her own right. As a wielder, her Force connection was profound enough to purify corrupted crystals, a feat demonstrating extraordinary attunement. Evaluated as a whole, these weapons excel where others fall short. The crystals underwent a transformation no other Force user has replicated, turning Inquisitor corruption into something entirely new. The dual blade construction was purpose-built for her unorthodox fighting style, enhancing rather than limiting her abilities. The legacy continues to grow as Ahsoka's reputation expands across decades of galactic history, and the wielder herself demonstrated a level of Force attunement so profound that she could heal what the dark side had broken. Few weapons on this list can still claim strength across all 4 factors. These white blades earned that distinction. While Ahsoka walked away from the Jedi Order, the following wielder never did, carrying his blade through decades of service. Number 11 belongs to Obi-Wan Kenobi's final lightsaber. This weapon reflected his complete mastery of Suresu, Form 3 combat, emphasizing absolute defense. The blue kyber crystal was attuned through decades of patient training, creating a connection that prioritized endurance over aggression. The hilt featured gold and amber coloring near the emitter, with deep ridge sections providing a secure grip during extensive defensive sequences. Every design element served Soresu's philosophy: outlast any attacker through perfect defense, then strike at the precise moment of vulnerability. The combat record was extraordinary. Obi-Wan killed General Grievous with this weapon, ending a cyborg who had murdered numerous Jedi Masters and terrorized Republic forces for years. He survived multiple encounters with Darth Maul across decades, repeatedly defeating the Sith assassin who had killed his own master, Qui-Gon Jinn. Most significantly, on Mustafar and Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan defeated Anakin Skywalker in their legendary duel. This was the Chosen One at the height of his power, consumed by dark side rage and wielding abilities that should have overwhelmed any opponent. The weapon's legacy extended through 19 years of exile, protecting Luke, eventually inspiring the next generation of Jedi through Luke's training. As a wielder, Obi-Wan refined Soresu to such perfection that he could hold off any attacker indefinitely, waiting for the single mistake that would end the fight. Evaluating the complete picture, the crystal achieved decades-deep attunement through patient meditation rather than raw power. The construction was purpose-built for defensive perfection, with every element serving Soresu's philosophy. The legacy carried the weight of defeating the Chosen One and protecting the galaxy's future hope for nearly 2 decades, and the wielder himself became the definitive Soresu master of his era. That victory on Mustafar, achieved through patient defense against overwhelming aggression, proved what this weapon could accomplish when every factor aligned toward a single purpose, and earned it this spot. Generations later, another Skywalker would build his own lightsaber, though this one was fueled by hatred rather than patience. At number 10 is Kylo Ren's crossguard lightsaber. When Ben Solo fell to the dark side, he bled his kyber crystal through darkside corruption. He poured such hatred into the ritual that the crystal cracked, producing an unstable blade venting excess energy through lateral crossguard emitters. This cracked crystal was both a flaw and a source of raw power, channeling more energy than stable crystals typically could. The medieval crossguard construction was both practical and psychological, intimidating opponents while providing blade lock advantages. Kylo's combat record included destroying Luke's Jedi Academy and defeating trained Force users. He fought Rey to draws, killed the entire Praetorian Guard alongside her, and most devastatingly, killed Han Solo. The weapon's legacy ended when Ben Solo cast it into the ocean upon returning to the light. As a wielder, Kylo possessed Skywalker bloodline potential combined with training from both Luke and Snoke. When evaluated across crystal, construction, legacy, and wielder, a complex picture emerges. The cracked crystal channeled immense raw energy, but at the cost of stability, mirroring its wielder's fractured psyche. The crossguard construction turned a flaw into a feature, venting excess power while intimidating opponents. The legacy carried significant weight through destroyed academies and fallen enemies, yet it ended abruptly when Ben Solo returned to the light. And while Kylo possessed elite potential from Skywalker blood and dual training lineages, his internal conflict prevented him from fully harnessing either the light or the dark. Every element of this weapon reflected the same truth: immense power undermined by instability, potential that was never fully realized. Departing from the sequel era, the ranking now travels back 4,000 years to the warrior who invented a weapon design that terrorized Jedi for generations. Number 9 takes us into Legends with Exar Kun's double-bladed lightsaber. As told in the Tales of the Jedi comics, approximately 4,000 years before the Skywalker saga, Exar Kun fell to the dark side and became one of history's most powerful Sith. His crystals were enhanced through ancient Sith alchemy, techniques lost to later generations. The construction was revolutionary. Kun became the first recorded Force user to wield a double-bladed lightsaber, building from Sith holocron blueprints to create something the Jedi had never faced. Kun's combat record was devastating. He killed numerous Jedi Masters and launched brutal attacks on Jedi strongholds. The Jedi trapped his spirit rather than defeating him in combat. The weapon's legacy extended 4,000 years, as every double-bladed lightsaber afterward echoed his innovation. As a wielder, Kun was powerful enough that his spirit persisted millennia after death. Weighing in each factor, the alchemically enhanced crystals channeled dark side energy through techniques that later Sith could never replicate. The revolutionary double-bladed construction included a weapon design so effective that it terrorized Jedi for generations. The 4,000-year legacy speaks for itself. No other weapon on this list influenced combat for even a fraction of that span. And a wielder whose power allowed his spirit to endure across millennia demonstrated Force mastery beyond what most Sith ever achieved. Innovation that shaped 4,000 years of warfare earned 9th place. 4,000 years later, another Sith brought the double-bladed design to the screen in a moment that changed Star Wars forever. At number 8 is Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber. Trained from infancy by Darth Sidious as a living weapon, Maul built his signature weapon under his master's guidance. The synthetic red crystals were created through Sith alchemy, perfectly attuned to his aggressive fighting philosophy. The double-bladed construction allowed simultaneous attacks from both ends, creating offensive pressure that overwhelmed opponents trained in single-blade combat. For audiences in 1999, the moment Maul ignited his second blade in The Phantom Menace remains one of cinema's most visceral reveals. Maul's combat record included killing Qui-Gon Jinn. Engaging 2 skilled Jedi at once and defeating one proved the double blade's effectiveness. Though Obi-Wan bisected him, Maul survived, rebuilt, and continued wielding double-bladed weapons throughout the Clone Wars. The legacy extended through decades of terror. As a wielder, Maul combined childhood Sith training with relentless hatred that kept him alive when he should have died. Assessing this weapon's total power, the Sith-bled crystals achieved deep dark side attunement through years of hatred and violence. The double-bladed construction proved itself definitively when it overwhelmed 2 Jedi simultaneously and killed a Master. The legacy accumulated across decades of terror, from Naboo to Mandalore, each victory adding weight to the weapon's reputation. And the wielder's sheer will to survive, defying death itself after being cut in half, demonstrated a connection to the dark side that few Sith ever achieved. A Jedi Master's death, combined with decades of proven lethality, earned 8th place. Interestingly, Maul would later claim a very different blade with power extending beyond combat entirely. Number 7 belongs to the Darksaber. Created over 1,000 years ago by Tarre Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, this weapon was unlike any other. The kyber crystal responded directly to its wielder's emotional state, a property no other crystal demonstrated so dramatically. Inner turmoil added physical weight to the blade, while inner peace made it swing effortlessly. The flat, sword-like black blade with crackling white energy reflected construction techniques lost to history, producing properties impossible to replicate. The combat record spanned 1,000 years of warriors. Pre-Vizsla fought Obi-Wan Kenobi with it. Maul claimed it by killing Vizsla, then used it against Sidious. Sabine Wren, Bo-Katan, Moff Gideon, and Din Djarin each wielded it, every transition occurring through combat. The legacy was unmatched. Whoever won this blade gained a legitimate claim to rule Mandalore. As for wielders, the Darksaber amplified whoever held it, rewarding emotional mastery. The 4 factors show a uniquely Force-responsive crystal, irreplaceable construction, a 1,000-year legacy, and wielders across generations whose victories proved its power. From a blade that ruled a civilization, we turn to one that helped save the galaxy. Sitting at 6 is Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber. After losing his father's weapon on Bespin, Luke constructed this blade in Obi-Wan's abandoned hut. The green kyber crystal was attuned through guidance from the Force itself, following fragmentary instructions without formal training. This self-guided construction demonstrated a Force connection strong enough to compensate for the lack of traditional teaching. The hilt incorporated elements from Obi-Wan's weapon while adding modifications suited to Luke's hybrid style. The combat record spoke definitively. Luke faced Darth Vader on the second Death Star and won. When he tapped into anger, he drove Vader back with furious strikes, beating the Dark Lord into submission. Only 2 people ever defeated Vader, Obi-Wan and Luke. The weapon's legacy extended through Luke's years of rebuilding the Jedi. As a wielder, Luke combined Skywalker's potential with training from Yoda and Obi-Wan. Weighing all 4 factors, the kyber crystal possessed a property no other demonstrated so dramatically, responding to emotional state by adding physical weight during inner turmoil and swinging effortlessly during inner peace. However, while Luke was still beginning his journey, our next wielder had already spent 9 centuries mastering the Force. Securing 5 is Yoda's shoto lightsaber. The greatest Jedi Master spent 900 years attuning his green kyber crystal, creating a bond deeper than perhaps any other in galactic history. That duration of continuous Force connection was unmatched by any other weapon on this list. The shoto construction was perfectly proportioned for Yoda's small body, shorter than standard lightsabers, but designed to maximize his Ataru fighting style. To compensate for his size, Yoda used the Force to enhance his speed, agility, and leaping ability to extraordinary degrees, turning apparent physical limitations into devastating advantages. Moreover, Yoda's combat record included fighting Count Dooku to a standstill in Attack of the Clones, forcing the Sith Lord to flee rather than continue. In the Senate chamber during Revenge of the Sith, Yoda faced Darth Sidious in a duel that would determine the galaxy's fate. He matched the most powerful Sith in existence, blow for blow, fighting evenly against someone who had killed 3 Jedi Masters in under 5 seconds. No other Jedi in the saga accomplished that. The duel ended only when clashing Force energy threw both combatants apart. The weapon's legacy extended through 9 centuries of training countless Jedi, including Dooku, Obi-Wan, and eventually influencing Luke Skywalker. As a wielder, Yoda's Force mastery was unequaled on the Jedi side of the Force. Assessed as a weapon, this shoto stands unmatched in nearly every dimension. 9 centuries of continuous crystal attunement forged a bond deeper than any in galactic history. The shoto's construction channeled that connection into a fighting style no opponent could predict, and the training legacy shaped generations of Jedi who carried this influence across the galaxy. When the greatest Jedi Master who ever lived matched the most powerful Sith in direct combat, the weapon proved it belonged among the very best. 5th place reflects only that the weapons ranked above compiled even more devastating combat records. Yet, while Yoda's blade drew strength from centuries of attunement, the following weapon derived its power from a legacy spanning the saga's most pivotal moments. At 4 is the Skywalker lightsaber. Constructed by Anakin during the Clone Wars, this weapon accumulated more legacy than any other in galactic history. The kyber crystal was attuned by the Chosen One himself, potentially the most powerful Force user ever born. The construction was excellent, built by Anakin at his mechanical genius peak. The legacy is what sets this weapon apart. It witnessed the Republic's fall, the Empire's rise, and the Resistance's triumph across 3 generations. The combat record was staggering. Anakin used it to kill Count Dooku. The same blade cut through the Jedi Temple during Order 66. Luke wielded it against Vader and lost, but Rey used it against the reborn Emperor. Passed from Anakin to Obi-Wan to Luke to Rey, each wielder was elite. Weighing all elements together, the crystal achieved attunement from the Chosen One himself, potentially the strongest Force connection any kyber ever formed. The construction reflected Anakin's mechanical genius, built at the peak of his abilities before his fall. The legacy surpassed every other weapon on this list, spanning 3 generations and witnessing the Republic's collapse, the Empire's reign, and the First Order's defeat. And while no single wielder held it long enough to fully bond with it, each one who carried it ranked among their era's most powerful Force users. The mixed combat record, including Luke's devastating loss on Bespin, prevented higher placement, yet no weapon in galactic history participated in more pivotal moments. The weapon that actually defeated Sidious in direct combat ranked higher still. At 3 is Mace Windu's purple lightsaber. This weapon contained one of the rarest crystals in galactic history. According to legends, the amethyst kyber came from a journey to the planet Hurricane, where Windu healed a shattered native and received a crystal as a gift of gratitude. This origin gave the crystal unique properties that no other weapon could claim, a bond formed through compassion rather than conquest. This electrum-finished construction marked it as a blade for council members of exceptional standing, a visual symbol of Windu's position among the Jedi Order's greatest warriors. Every element of the weapon's design supported Windu's mastery of Vapad, the Form 7 variant that channeled an opponent's dark side energy back against them. Vapad was so dangerous that the Council actively discouraged its study, as practitioners constantly risked falling to the darkness they were drawing upon. Only Windu had perfected the technique without corruption. The more ferociously an opponent attacked, the more powerful Windu became, turning enemy aggression into fuel for his own strikes. The combat record contained a remarkable achievement. Mace Windu disarmed Darth Sidious in direct combat. In the Chancellor's office during Revenge of the Sith, Windu had the Sith Lord at blade point, the only Jedi in the saga to gain such an advantage over Palpatine. However, this single victory must be weighed against the context. The duel's conclusion remains debated, as some fans believe Sidious may have been feigning weakness to manipulate Anakin, and it ended through outside intervention rather than a decisive finish. Moreover, Windu's overall combat record, while impressive, lacks the volume and variety of opponents that define the top 2 entries. The weapon's legacy carried the weight of that almost victory, a moment that could have saved the galaxy from the Empire's rise. As a wielder, Windu perfected the most dangerous lightsaber form in existence without falling to darkness, a feat of willpower that few others could have accomplished. The 4 factors reveal a unique, rare crystal with a meaningful origin, construction perfectly optimized for Vapad, a legacy defined by a pivotal duel, and a wielder of exceptional skill. Third place reflects a weapon that achieved what no other Jedi weapon could against Sidious, while acknowledging that total combat record across all encounters determines the final ranking. The 2 weapons ranked above this one compiled far more extensive records of destruction against elite opponents. Earning second place is Darth Vader's lightsaber. As shown in the 2017 Darth Vader comic series, after his transformation on Mustafar, Vader hunted Jedi Master Kirak Infila, killed him, and took his kyber crystal. The bleeding ritual lasted days as Vader poured his pain, hatred, and loss into corrupting the stone through pure dark side will. This extended process created one of the most deeply attuned dark side crystals in the saga, a weapon that channeled decades of accumulated rage every time it ignited. The larger-than-standard construction was specifically designed for hands encased in armored gloves, with weight distribution optimized for the crushing gem-so strikes that defined Vader's evolved fighting style. Where Anakin had been acrobatic and aggressive, Vader became methodical and devastating, using mechanical strength to deliver blows that few opponents could withstand. Every element of the weapon's design reflected this transformation from impulsive youth to implacable enforcer. For over 20 years, this red lightsaber was the last thing countless Jedi survivors, rebels, and even Imperial officers ever saw. The Rogue One corridor scene demonstrated Vader at his terrifying peak, cutting through an entire rebel squad while walking slowly forward without a single opponent landing a hit. Only Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar and Luke Skywalker on the second Death Star ever defeated Vader in lightsaber combat. Against everyone else in the galaxy, He was death walking, inevitable and unstoppable. The weapon's legacy was terror itself, suppressing resistance across the galaxy through fear alone. When Vader's lightsaber ignited, people fled or died. As a wielder, Vader combined Chosen One potential with 2 decades of continuous dark side mastery, refining his abilities through constant combat against anyone who dared oppose the Empire. Weighing the complete profile, the crystal endured days of bleeding ritual, forging one of the deepest dark side attunements in the saga. The construction channeled that hatred into crushing gem-so strikes that few opponents survived. The legacy spread across an entire galaxy, with 20 years of terror cementing this weapon as the Empire's ultimate symbol of death. And the wielder was arguably the most dangerous duelist alive for 2 decades, losing only twice against the countless Force users and soldiers who fell before him. Thus, second place was earned through 2 decades of accumulated dominance. Vader answered to only one master, and that master's weapons compiled an even more extensive record of destruction against the galaxy's most powerful Force users. The most powerful lightsabers in galactic history belonged to Darth Sidious, claiming the first place. Constructed during his apprenticeship under Darth Plagueis, these twin weapons represented the absolute pinnacle of lightsaber craft. The red kyber crystals were bled through rituals refined across the entire Sith lineage, techniques passed down through 1,000 years of planning and preparation. The resulting crystals achieved perfect dark side attunement, channeling more Force energy than perhaps any other weapons ever constructed. The construction incorporated the finest materials available anywhere in the galaxy. Frick alloy made the hilts resistant to lightsaber strikes, a defensive advantage almost no other weapon possessed. Aurodium emitters were worth more than most starships, their precision engineering ensuring perfect blade focus. Electrum plating, traditionally reserved for the most distinguished Jedi Masters, announced mastery to anyone who saw these weapons. Every component was selected for excellence and assembled with care that matched Sidious's decades-long patience in destroying the Jedi Order. Sidious concealed these weapons within a statue in his Senate office for decades, waiting through the entire Clone Wars while Jedi Masters like Yoda and Mace Windu walked past without sensing the darkness hidden just feet away. When he finally revealed them in Revenge of the Sith, 3 Jedi Masters, Ajan Kolar, Saesee Tiin, and Kit Fisto, died in under 5 seconds. These were not Padawans or Knights, but council members who had served the Order with distinction for decades. Sidious cut through them faster than they could react. The legacy of these weapons was written in the deaths of Jedi Masters and the terror they inspired. Moreover, as a wielder, Sidious was the culmination of 1,000 years of Sith planning, the most powerful darkside user in galactic history, and the mastermind who destroyed the Jedi Order and ruled the galaxy. Taken together, the 4 factors align perfectly. Sith lineage crystals refined through a millennium of darkside knowledge, premium materials like Frick alloy and Aurodium created construction without compromise. A legacy measured in dead council members established unmatched lethality. And one of the most powerful Force users in history unlocked capabilities no other wielder could access. Indeed, the combined combat achievements of every other weapon on this list cannot match what Sidious accomplished in those few encounters. By every measure, first place is undeniable. In the end, true power required all 4 factors working together. The crystal channeled Force energy, the construction shaped combat effectiveness, the legacy proved real-world performance, and the wielder unlocked full potential. That combination separated the legendary from the forgotten, the weapons that changed history to those that merely witnessed it. To continue exploring the Star Wars universe, discover why every Jedi and Darth Vader himself grew to hate Palpatine's lightsabers, or uncover what lies within every single level of Coruscant.